The top brass opposed VCs for the heroes of Rorke's Drift because they were simply doing their job, but admiring Queen Victoria thought differently. While the 1964 film Zulu with Caine and Stanley Baker may not rate as the all-time greatest with critics, for many of us it's a reliable old classic that we can watch again and again. But how much is accurate, and does it really capture the spirit of that famous and dreadful day at Rorke's Drift, Natal Province, on January 22nd, 1879? There have been many books about the small but unforgettable battle between a British regiment and several thousand Zulu warriors. Nevertheless, the essentials are clearly stated. The Zulus, a proud warrior tribe just over the border from South Africa, were seen as a looming threat by the British High Commissioner, Sir Bartle Frere. Alarmed by their rising power, Frere wanted the tribe disarmed and incorporated in South Africa. Their king, Cetshwayo, refused, and when a few Zulus crossed into Natal and beat to death 2 runaway women for adultery, their skulls smashed with knobberies in accordance with established Zulu tradition. And so began the Anglo-Zulu War, when days later 1,300 British soldiers were famously slaughtered. A triumphant army of Zulu warriors marched back across the border into British territory and descended on a small mission station of Rorke's Drift. Defended by some 150 men, the Zulus numbered about 4,500. The defenders of the little station, firing their beefy 4.52 Martini Henry rifles and thrusting their bayonets from behind their biscuit boxes and mealie bags, fought tenaciously. The fighting was so desperate that at times the Zulu attackers could grab the very barrels of the soldiers' rifles, poking through the holes in the walls of the hospital building. Contrary to the film's depiction of murderously effective ways of volley fire, it seems bayonets did most of the grim work, since surprisingly few cartridge cases have ever been found at the site. Finally, after a day and night of fighting and terrible losses, the Zulus pulled back disheartened, and when a British relief column appeared, they fled in terror, having thought the British soldiers had been wiped out at Islandwana, and that these were ghost soldiers. Behind them lay just 17 British dead and some 600 Zulus. Oddly for a battle in which the beleaguered force was outnumbered 40-1, but killed 20 attackers for every defender that died, some in the army I command opposed awarding VCs. The Victoria Cross denounced extreme devotion to duty, or even self-sacrifice. The soldiers were simply doing their job and could not escape. They were rats in a trap. As one British general put it, they fought as they had to. But thanks to a combination of public adulation and support of admiring Queen Victoria, 11 VCs were awarded, along with 4 Distinguished Conduct Medals. For all their heroism displayed that day, the soldiers were a rough lot. The archetypal squaddy humour unmistakable. They referred to their grim rations as tinned meat as Harriet Lane, after a Whitechapel girl who had recently been murdered and literally chopped in small pieces. But they weren't treated royally themselves. Paid a shilling a day when beer was penny and a halfpenny a pint. Their daily wage was about £40 in modern purchasing power. Sister Janet Wells, the extremely pretty nurse of only 19, who came out after the battle to care for the wounded soldiers and clearly chewed them up to no end. A sensible girl, she quickly had the soldiers boiling up water before drinking and washing their underwear and shirts. A little more often, stomach bugs promptly subsided. The afterlives of the men's Rorke's Drift heroes make some sad reading. Private William Jones VC ended up reenacting the battle on stage for a living, working for Buffalo Bill's Wild West show in the 1880s. Poverty later forced him to pawn his VC. Private Robert Jones took to drink and shot himself in 1898. Henry Hook, wrongly depicted in the film as a drunk and a coward, became cloakroom attendant at the British Museum. Most famously, the soldiers were not in fact from the South Wales borderers, and the magnificent scene where they sing the Men of Harlech is a creative licence. But Welsh pride not need to be dented. There's still plenty of Welshmen in the ranks. Jones and Parry and Williams, as well as men from Lancashire and the Midlands and London, they were a very mixed bunch. Today, that once embattled and blood-soaked storehouse where they fought so doggedly back in 1879, has been converted into a simple church for local Zulu people. But what can be better stated than the Duke of Wellington's famous words, "Next to a lost battle, nothing is so sad as a battle that has been won."